Welcome to a new Backseat Critique.
Brand new.
Very brand new.
And temperate. Not temperate.
Very timely.
Yeah, but I didn't want to say timely because it's not exactly the word that I'm looking for. Like au courant. Like...
temporally...
in the zeitgeist.
Yes, temporally zeitgeistiness.
Yeah.
We just watched Fear Street 4, Prom Queen. Basically, this was suggested by someone in a comment, being like, you're going to watch Fear Street 4 because you did the previous 3? And I was like, I hadn't thought of that.
I didn't even know there was a 4.
I knew that there was a 4, but I hadn't looked into it. But then I figured, yeah, why not? Because we did lose the other ones. And then we're trying to get the other ones to watch it too. But then they were like, well, I don't watch the first 3. You two should do this one by yourself because you did that. And they're like...
they didn't say it like that. Probably. I wasn't there for that.
Like, you don't have to watch it. You know, we will not watch it. You have to do it, you know. And then they whipped me. It was great.
Yeah, no, we watched the other 3 on Netflix, but you know that because you probably have the links in the more description.
Probably. If we
now you have to do it. Like, see the links down in the comments.
If they're not there, you know, just inform Hagan, or even better, inform Teddy in the Hagan Discord, so I don't have to deal with it.
Well, anyway, yeah, no. So this was in the Fear Street brand, but it's not like it's vaguely connected to the others. Like it's in the same setting with the same 2 socioeconomically adjacent communities. And one is full of murderers, and one is not, and there you go. But it's not connected to the Metapod. It's not connected to Seraphir at all.
Yeah, it's I really think they crap themselves a bit because they set it in 1988. Like the second and third Fear Streets were set in the early 70s and the like something 90s. Sorry,
for the first one in the 90s. And then
yeah, chronologically though it was the 70s and the 90s, and this one's set in like 1988, and so they just set it in there, but they're not really doing anything connecting with them.
Yeah, it's just like the same setting.
Yeah, so you've got the problem here that you've got you can't bring characters from this one into this one because you'll know they survive, so they can't be brought in. It also means that you try to bring characters from this one into it, you know, the ages might not line up. You've also got the real possibility of creating continuity errors just by accident and stuff. And so they stuck it in there, and you've got a lot of downsides. You've got very few upsides. So if they just set it in another town or set it in like 2005, I think it would have worked a bit better. I think it was just basically, let's make another Fear Street movie. Let's set it in the 80s. I don't think there was like secret like Doctor Who fandom-esque high-level canon discussions. Well, there's only 3 Fear Street.
R.L. Stein himself like shows up like chewing on a cigar like a robber baron or like a studio head. Like, oh, I just want another one. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, well, there's only 3 films, so it's not that hard to keep it in continuity. But this one, it's like the other ones, the Fear Streets were sort of sociologically minded.
There was a lot of like class struggle.
Yeah, that, and it was in 3 different time periods, so it's... I don't want to use the word epic, because it was not a slasher epic, although I'm not sure if such a thing would be possible, but it was...
big budget epic. But it was a blockbuster slasher. Yeah,
like horror movies and epic don't tend to go together. I think the only one I can think of off the top of my head, like a legit one, would be It.
Yeah, sure.
But it is more like that than most slashers because it goes over centuries and you get all the themes and stuff like that. And it was much better than anyone expected.
Well, there are billion of the Lee novels.
Yeah.
So they're probably never going to run out of source material.
And so this one, rather than... you know, even try to match that, they just stuck this one between the scenes of the previous ones, and they're just doing a typical 80s slasher film for better and worse. I mean, they had 1 or 2 amusing kills. They had, you know, a bunch of characters that you're happy to see die. You've got other
bunch of like, okay, so the bad guy, we'll get there. Their whole what was the bad guy from Scream?
Ghostface.
Ghostface. I wanted to say like Screamface. That's not right. That sounds really stupid. That sounds like Boneface. Or like an old person describing a Scream. You know, Screamface, the one you like. But yeah, no. So it's like just a generic devil mask,
What's hilarious is that the ghost face mask was actually a generic one that was bought in like a crappy cheap Halloween shop.
And now it's a thing.
Yeah, and then this is why the Screen TV series, at the start of, at least in series 1, they used a different mask because they couldn't afford the rights to the original mask.
But it's a generic, like, Halloween mask. But they're also wearing... Okay, it's not just a raincoat or a poncho. It's, like, you know, the regular snap-down one that you used to have when you were a kid. But it also, because you see the killer from the back a lot, has, like, that extra kind of half-capey bit that, like, a trench coat has.
It's,
What's that called? It's probably, like, some
I don't know what
thing.
it's called. However, the coat which has that and the long part is technically called a greatcoat.
Yeah, but, like, it's a raincoat, but it also has that, and it has a hood, right? And then, so the slasher, like slashers do, is just sneaking up on people. But you're like, they would be squelching. Like, even if, like, that raincoat is right, like, beep, beep, beep.
Yeah, you got this bit where these people are having a conversation like that.
Oh my god.
And then someone...
sweet.
And then one of them, the villain, sneaks up on one of them behind them with a moving...
With an angle grape grinder.
Which is working, like, it's instantly, like, working, and then starts stabbing into their head. When, you know, the grinder is going to have to take time to turn on.
And at that point in time, it wouldn't have been wireless.
Yeah, so what you've got is the person who's talking there ignored... Although, who was the person who was faced with that? Was that the evil girl? Because that might have actually been a plot point.
That's true. But the guy would have known. The guy would have heard the killer squeaking on up.
Yeah, but depending on who he was talking to... No, she got killed right after. She got electrocuted, so it was not her. So yeah, that wasn't a plot point, that was just being stupid. But that was a classically dumb kill. It was hilarious. Though not as good as some of the kills in, like, Jason X, because I would defend that film.
And you did, at length.
I did. I described the liquid nitrogen kill, and I described the one where, in the holodeck, where Jason puts the co-ed in, like, the dress in the sleeping bag and, like, beats her to death against a tree and kills her with it. It's Jason X. You're all sleeping on Jason X. It is so good. I mean, it's shite and it's hilarious, but, you know, that's what you want for a Friday the 13th film. There are no good Friday the 13th films.
Anyway, so the main girl looked, like, very familiar to me, and I kept, like, through the half of the movie, I was like, what actress would I, because I don't ever watch anything besides, like, nonfiction YouTube, but I was like, who does she look like? And finally I was like, oh, I remember, and Zara says, well, who does she look like? And I was like, my cousin Michelle, when we were at that age.
She looks, for anyone who is not familiar with, you know, Eric's cousin Michelle from being that age, looks a bit like the one who plays Karen Page in Daredevil.
There you go.
But, like, you know, in her early 20s playing a 17-year-old. We're 16 or 17?
Well, no, because if they're seniors, they could be 17 or 18.
Okay. But yeah, all the actors are, though, clearly, and the youngest ones are clearly 20, and the oldest ones are clearly at least, you know, 25.
Well, that was, but here's the thing, is that a mistake, or is that paying homage to the trope of, we're all in high school, except we're obviously in our 20s?
I got the feeling they're just indulging in the trope rather than making fun of it, because if they're making fun of it, they would cast 60-year-olds.
That'd be pretty funny.
That would be pretty
funny.
Like,
what's the Scottish one? It was like the husband and wife team, and she pretended to be a wee boy.
Oh, well, Billy Cranky.
Yeah.
Cranky, yeah, she was like in her 60s playing a kid.
This is a little bit upsetting. I gotta confess, from being, like, looking at it contemporarily, I'm just like, oh... There's some kind of weird kink going on here, and I'm not sure I consent to be a part of it.
Wee Billy Cranky.
No. Look it up on YouTube, it's weird. But, yeah, so this high school also had an incredible amount of square footage of areas where children were not supposed to be, and yet were anyway. Like, this is like 60% of the school was unused, creepy areas that should be locked, and 40% was, like, the actual rest of the school. Because there was like, oh, the basement and the storage room and then the electrical room.
And quite unusually for a slasher film, where you got the killing is happening in a very quick period of time. Usually this sort of thing happens.
And they don't get found out until like all at the end either.
Yeah, so like the killer is very efficiently like hiding bodies and stuff. Usually slashers will have it happening over at least a full night, a couple of days.
And people get like more and more. Everyone gets more and more freaked out as more people die.
Yeah.
But this was you, the viewers, see people keep dying. You're like, right, okay, right. And then the one lesbian-esque friend is like, I saw someone wearing a weird jacket. Oh no, people are missing. There must be a killer. And then discovers all the bodies. And then, like, at the very, very, very end, it's the slasher's like, it's me, I'm here, I'm killing in front of everyone. And everyone's like, oh no, a murderer. And so you're like, alright.
Yeah, it's one of these things that the behaviour from several of the characters kind of makes sense given the information they have, but for an audience it's a bit jarring. Some of the Friday the 13th ones have the same sort of issue, but with them usually they know there's killings happening, but it's hard to get away or whatever. And this one, literally most of the cast don't know there's a killer until they're killed.
Because everyone's like, oh, where'd so-and-so go? Oh, he's probably fucking his girlfriend in the part of the school that we're not supposed to go to. Which part? Oh, let's see, it could be down in the basement or up in the electric. Oh, Jesus.
Or, in the slasher den. We've always
I will say, and I did say when we were watching it, that in my secondary school, my high school, there was an area that we weren't supposed to go into. There was one part where there were stairs that went down to one of the exits, but there was another staircase that went up to this kind of loft area that was over the whole entire school. Now, I had been up there because when I worked stage crew and stuff like that, we would have to go up there and get pieces of set and other kind of stuff. So I have been up there, but it's not very creepy. It's kind of like piles of boxes of textbooks. And
like if you're doing this kind of slasher thing where it's like they're stuck in one place and it's happening like, in a short period of time or in a limited place. There is one I've seen semi-recently which really played with the concept cleverly. Mm-hmm. It's called Wreck. It's also called Erect, depending if it's the UK or the USA. And it's a TV series. It was 6 45-minute episodes. And it's a slasher set on a cruise ship.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense, yeah. Because where are you going to go?
Yeah, and then it turns out, obviously, that the slasher's working for the cruise company who are evil. But, and that explains why, they didn't stop the cruise and be like, why are people dying? Because,
there's only supposed to be 3 or 4 deaths on a cruise ship.
Yeah, so like
not 17.
When you're watching it, you're like, okay, logically, they should be. Have some sort of security thing. This should be dealt with. And then it turns out, oh, okay, it's an evil cruise liner.
Well, I'm sure we've all heard it's like one of those common internet did you know facts that everyone knows that cruise ships have morgues. Yeah. Because old people just kind of like, well, I'm gonna blow the rest of my retirement and live the rest of my life on a cruise
and then die.
You know what? You can go for it.
But yeah, live
your life. Live the rest of your life.
Because with the slasher thing, there's a reason they tend to be set in places that are a little bit isolated. I can't think of a slasher film.
Yeah, because if you're in Times Square, everyone's going to be like, Jesus Christ. It's
Yeah, the idea of setting a slasher in New York was so mind-blowing. It was in the title of, Jason Takes Manhattan. That's why usually the largest place you'll put a slasher. And even that film, they don't do much killing in New York. It's about getting to New York. Somehow they take a boat from Camp Crystal Lake, which is in the Midwest, to New York within a night or two. It makes no sense. But usually a slasher, the largest place you're going to set it is a small town.
Because the element of isolation is really big because, something is a lot less, the slasher chasing you down the street is a lot less scary when you can, say to everyone, look, it's the bad guy. Yeah. Get him. Yeah. And everyone will be like, oh no, and
If you set the slasher in a big city, it's a lot less dangerous because you can escape and there's other people there. And
maybe if it's at night.
Plus,
Candyman or something.
Plus, it's also
he's supernatural.
Candyman is technically a slasher. Yeah, that would be the only urban slasher film that I can think of. Yeah,
but he's supernatural, so that's why
you can get away with it. Yeah, and
you said that very resentfully. If you weren't supernatural, you wouldn't be getting away with it.
Well, technically he's related to supernatural in the first and the fourth one because he's a concept. He's based in belief. For the second and third Candyman films, he's just a ghost. I did a whole video about Candyman, but
link down in the description.
My point is the location I imagine of slasher films being usually isolated, smaller communities in more town, camp, cruise ship, whatever. It probably plays into the fact that that they are a very conservative horror genre. the idea that, you do something bad, you have premarital sex, you drink alcohol, you take drugs, whatever, then you end up getting killed. It's a lot of...
And in the Fear Street series, if you're just lower socioeconomic status, well, you're just fucked.
Well, there you go. It's because this is a right-wing thing. It's like one of the things you'd be punished for is for being poor, but it's also subverting it at the same time. But sitting in a small town, that makes the conservatism make even more sense. Because if you're in a big city where you got a bunch of people who are,
liberal,
who are more happy with freedom and stuff like that, you are in a lot less danger of a slasher.
Like a right-wing slasher. It does it to trigger the libs.
And
then he says, "Pwned."
You've also got a bit of
theorizing.
Because it's been theorized that American horror tends to take place in the countryside, while, say, compared to the UK.
Oh yeah, your whole thing about folk horror.
While UK horror, typically, at least in popular horror, tends to take place in urban environments, because England also invented folk horror, but that's a separate issue. Candyman started out as an urban horror from the UK.
Oh yeah.
Set in Liverpool. I read an article once about theorizing that because a country bases its horror on where its nastiest internal events happen, and in America, that's the murder of the Native Americans. That's the sort of the.
But we do so much more that's worse.
Yeah, but inside the country, this is like stuff from generations ago. Like in the UK, the equivalent is when you build up the big cities and the industrialization and people taken from a life of basic freedom out in the countryside, being able to work for themselves, being almost slaves.
It's about the loom.
So
it's a Luddite slasher.
Yes,
a Luddite slasher. Yes. Hey, that big hucking block that has the holes in it that you loom with? That's what he kills with. He's got a blade in there.
That's what Ned Ludd is.
Yes. Copyright. Do not steal. In the original idea. Don't trademark it. I said it first.
But I'm saying you could come up with a whole. There's a whole lot of writing being written on this subject, and you can write even more. But yes,
or it's like a communist one, and like he only kills capitalists.
There's not many capitalists in communist countries, though. They'd have to
No, but he could leave the communist country. You can be a communist and live in any country. You don't have to be Russian.
Oh, I was assuming you were thinking of a theoretical
No,
Soviet
just like someone who really
film.
believes.
Is there a slasher?
Like a big tanky.
Is there a Soviet slasher movie? I have not come across one. Well, given they were very much a very American invention in the, although arguably.
Yeah, but there's that Russian Guardians of the Galaxy. Esque. Not Guardians. What was
Avengers. It's called Guardians, though.
That's what I was thinking of.
The superheroes one. Although arguably the slasher was not an American invention because Blow Up has been accused of being the first slasher film. The one about the guy with the camera where he stabs ladies with the camera. Those were British films in the 60s. You've got 13 Women, who I maintain is the first slasher film. That was American, but it was 50 years before the boom.
Link in the description. It's the entire bibliography of this video.
This entire video is me attempting to be academic about slashers and you being all like, I hate slashers.
I'm tired. It's Sunday night. I've got work to do. I have to go to England for a conference this week. I don't want to go. I wanted to go up until I didn't want to go. I'm sure you know yourself. But what else? I mean, it was alright. I mean...
The shocking reveal of the killer was like this guy... And
it just kept being different twists.
When he revealed his face, I was like, "Oh, it's the principal."
No,
it's not the principal.
It's that guy who was just kind of skulking about, and then he smelled the spiked punch and he drank it, and because he realized it was spiked, he was like, "I'll have this then." It's a bit like Stephen Miller, the government guy.
Why were there the only two important, cis male sort of characters in this? Would both look the same. They're the same age, and they're both the same exact kind of.
Oh, he looked about 10 years younger than the principal.
They look the same. They all look the same.
Anyway, a lot of the aesthetic elements I felt were a little bit anachronistic, the other way around, because I felt like it did feel, with the exception of the music, it did feel like 1990 or 91.
The book
I wouldn't have said 88.
The book came out in the early 90s.
Okay, so that's why. Because, there were, some of the 80s set pieces, but it did feel very early 90s, as someone who was there.
One of the songs they played in the prom was Gloria?
Yeah.
It sounded like it was physical.
By Laura Branigan.
And that came out apparently like 82, and I'm very sure that would not have played in a prom in 88 because, at least in the ones I've had very limited experience with whenever I was a kid over here, you would play songs from the year that it came out, maybe the year before, or things that were at least 10 years old.
I guess I could see if it was, if they hadn't made such a big deal about there being a student DJ, but then we didn't, like the scenes where we didn't see him, the teachers could have been like, oh, play stuff that I like from a few years ago. When I was in my early 30s and everything was fine still.
Yeah, but if the teachers thing, I would expect to be 60s or 70s.
Depends on the age of the teacher, I suppose. I mean, think about it. Like, if you're okay, not a lot, but I'm sure everyone is thinking of someone right as soon as I finish the sentence of that one teacher, or maybe there were a few teachers in your primary or secondary school who basically you could tell they peaked in high school and then that was it. Like, they came back to work at the same school that they went to. And gym teachers, like PE teachers, very famous for this, just kind of like, thinking, I'm still young, I'm still hip, I'm still with it, I'm still great, and, but you're like pushing 30 now. Like the kind of teacher who would, in a non-chaperone kind of way, say to a student DJ, oh, here, play this song, because they're thinking of, oh, remember, 5 years ago when this song came out, and I was still 29 and dating so-and-so, and everything looked great. That's the kind of teacher, and you know who I'm talking about.
If you've seen the Inside Number 9 episode where they're stuck on a little boat, that's Reece Shearsmith's character. Although he's more like 50 and it's but university, not secondary school.
I'm just saying. What's the time on the thing?
21.
Okay, may have time.
So, but we should
see
still...
the file cuts every so long.
It does at like 36 minutes. But... Have we got anything else to say about Fear Street? Because I've yelled too much about the history of slasher films.
But the thing is that we watch so many slashers. Well, okay, since I met you, I've watched so many slashers, and like, don't take me wrong, but with the exception of the set dressing, they're all the same. And I know that that's the point, is they're supposed to all be the same. They all have the similar. It's like it's like hunting the serial killer. They're all the same. The only thing that changes is who the serial killer is and how they kill serially.
The difference is, but here's the thing. It's like one of the reasons that I enjoy Shakespeare adaptations on screen. I don't like Shakespeare, but I like adaptations because I know the script, and so therefore I can pay attention to the other parts of the film. The set decoration, the design, the directing, the acting. I can concentrate on those parts, and it allows you to follow parts of a film that you might not pay as much attention to normally. With a slasher, you get a similar deal. You know exactly what's going to happen. And so it allows you to concentrate on other stuff like the artistry of the kills, the sort of like making you think misdirections. The humorous of dialogue, stuff like that.
How like every young man was like, come, young date, come with me to this part of the building that's usually locked and we're not supposed to go. I'm not going to sexually assault you, I swear.
You can laugh at the people who deserve to die.
But none of them, were really all right, let's do the fucking now. Let us fornicate in the sight of the Lord. They're just kind of like, oh, you're so hot. Oh, no, you die.
Yeah, it was a little bit, if you're going to do proper 80s slasher, you really need more tits.
And really their sins were just basically, being kind of bitchy.
Yeah.
It wasn't oh no, with the premarital sex, or oh no, with the, who was the one that drowned because he was bullied because he was special needs? Jason.
Oh, Jason.
Oh no, Jason, we're too busy smoking weed and fucking to save your life, sorry. It was kind of we're just a bit bitchy and sad that Facebook won't be invented for another 15 years. Actually, no, MySpace. We're angry that we can't bitch about this on LiveJournal. It was just a wee bit of drama, so it was that was nothing to kill over. Obviously, when you finally find out who the killer plurals are, you're like, oh, okay, I guess. But it's not you hath sinned and must purgatory.
And it's a little bit like when you discover there's multiple killers, usually that's a bit,
that's a twist.
That's become a twist that they do more often now, several, I think Scream was one that kicked that off because...
There was 3 this time.
Yeah, there's always a different one. That's why I want a Scream movie where you've got the killers, but there's multiple groups of killers who keep interrupting each other's attempts to kill someone, and so they just kill each other.
So was it like Murder on the Orient Express, but one of those math problems they used to give you, where it's like you have like 5 different categories in the matrix, and you have to check off process of elimination wise. You know, if Joe gave Susan the red flower, but Susan is wearing the pink, like that's what that sounds like. A really long word problem for someone to sit down and guess, oh yes, I love it, on the train.
Yeah, do that with, get somebody who's good at doing clever, stuff like that.
Oh, you know what?
Ryan Johnson type.
Yeah, like part of the,
but if you
part of his whole Knives Out.
Yeah, because it subverts stuff. But eventually, I do want to make you watch the Babysitter films. Because... you are all like, oh, slashers all the same. It's a reverse slasher. There's multiple people with weapons trying to kill this one person, and the one person keeps managing to accidentally and deliberately kill the other ones.
It's like just Fortnite.
It's brilliant. I love the fucking Babysitter. There's 2 of them. They're good. Samara Weaving is amazing.
It'd be funny if it was like crossover with the Babysitter's Club. Like, I've had it with you, Stacey. Like Slender Man. I shouldn't laugh because those girls really did try to kill that girl. But
I watched a documentary on that a couple of days ago. Beware the Slender Man. It was about the real life crime and psychology and stuff like that.
From what I've heard in the years since, basically your one who was like the spearhead was quite unwell.
She was very schizophrenic,
and she kind of like press ganged the other one.
That seems to basically be the gist of the documentary.
Yeah.
They talked a lot about schizophrenia and stuff like that. Richard Dawkins kept turning up for some reason to talk about memes and Slenderman being a meme.
Like,
It's very random.
Did someone tell him what a meme is?
Now, Dawkins either did or claims to have invented the term meme, predating the internet. The idea of a mind virus that spreads.
I think people have been talking about things like that since like the creation of the field of anthropology.
Yeah, but he invented the word meme to describe it. Or someone else did and he gets the credit. I'm not sure which.
I just can't see him like making soy jacks.
But before he became famous for atheism, Richard Dawkins was famous for being the guy who invented the meme.
Right?
Yeah. It's a bit of a random fact.
On Canva, getting I like to use the Kombucha Girl template the best because she's like, and then she's like, I don't know if that's what Richard Dawkins sounds like. I've never heard him speak.
He's very English.
I'm not going to try English.
His, who his ex-wife was?
No.
Romana too, the blonde Romana, who was Tom Baker's ex-wife.
Oh, okay.
And they were introduced by Douglas Adams, who was Richard Dawkins' best friend. All these motherfuckers in England know each other.
It's a small island. Yeah, that's like how people, like it's a reverse of what we do to people from other countries. There's a lot of people, especially in this part of Ireland, have relatives who live in Philadelphia or in the States, like on the East Coast. And they'll be like, here, do you know so-and-so who lives in Pennsylvania? I'm like, no, Pennsylvania's huge. You like fit Ireland into it.
I bet eventually you actually will know someone.
Well, when I was working at Easton's way back in the day, there was a family that was like, oh, we're just living in the States, we just moved back. I was like, oh, where'd you live? Oh, in Pennsylvania. I'm like, oh, that's where I'm from. Whereabouts? And they said, oh, it's this little part, Delaware County. I'm like, I'm from Delaware County. And they're like, Highland Park and Upper Darby. I'm like, I fucking lived in Highland Park and Upper Darby. I lived on Carroll Boulevard from this year to this year. She's like, all right, enough. So yeah, it did happen. I told you about that. That was years ago. That was when the till was in the middle of the shop rather than back against the wall.
See, so now you have context.
For a shop that hasn't closed down in 2020 during the COVID, and now there's a clothing shop there now. So
anyway, I think we should.
So Fear Street's the 4th. This is all right. And if you want to listen to the music, I guess, but you could just put it on YouTube really and just type in greatest 80s hits. And, we did get rickrolled though.
It's basically a C- slasher movie that has been stuck into the Fear Street thing, and all that connection does, it doesn't make it any better.
There was a bit of graffiti in the toilet at the beginning that said Sarah Fear is alive or Sarah Fear lives, and I was like, oh look, yeah. I get that reference.
Yeah, it doesn't add anything to it. If on balance, it probably damages it. So
how do they damage? It just is.
It's made worse
Yeah.
because they've stuck themselves in there and they're sort of feeling like they're being compared to the better films, which is damaging for this one. If it was by itself, it would have just be complete.
It's like Assassin's Creed Shadows. All right,
So
it's there. It's no Expedition 33.
So, hope you enjoyed, and we will see you
For Fear Street 5. No, I mean, we probably will.
if they make a Fear Street. But this one didn't review well, you said. So.
Yeah, but R.L. Stein, everyone loves him, so.
So if there's a
Let's run the
5,
old razzle dazzle.
if there's a 5, we'll see you for that.
Bye.
Maybe we'll see you for the Babysitter movies.
No.
Please.
I don't want to watch slashers.
Babysitter films.
Oh.
There's
Spoilers, they all get slashed at the end.
There's Samara Weaving's in it, and she's amazing.
I mean, I guess.